Awesome. So yesterday we discussed about conditions, right? If else. Any question on that? If not, we'll move ahead. So today we'll talk about loops. So loops is a concept, okay, where
Hi, Swapnil. My
hey,
mute,
hi.
I guess.
Yes, I couldn't hear you guys. Yeah. I think again you went on mute.
I'm good. I'm good now.
Okay, sure. Okay. So yes, so I was talking about loops, right? And loops is used to repeat a certain block of code more than once, right? So when you want to repeat it, that's when we use loops. So let's say you have um, print statement, right? Hello, and I want to repeat it more than once. I want to print more than once. Right? It could be a single statement. It could be multiple statement. So that's when we use loops, right? Now, there are two ways to use loops. One is when you know exactly how many times to repeat. Okay. So if you know that I need to repeat it 5 times, 10 times, okay, then we use something called as for loop. Okay. So for loop is used when you are sure that, example I said, right? If you have to repeat, if I want to print hello 5 times. So here, it is 5 times. Then we prefer for loop. Okay. And when you don't know, okay, but you need to know some condition to stop it, right? So I don't know how many times to run, but I need to know when to stop it. Okay. That's when we prefer while loop. Okay. So while loops are used, when you don't know, okay. Um, one second. Yeah, I'm done. Okay. So when we don't know how many times, like, so example I give is, let's say if I have to ask for a direction for your home, okay. So there's two ways you can ask me to come, right? One way is you tell me that, okay, from there you come straight in that direction for exactly 1 miles or exactly 1.1 miles, exactly 1.2 miles, right? So when you know exact distance, then you'll give me the distance, isn't it? But not always you may know exact distance from where I am, right? So you'll tell me, come in that direction, okay, until you see a red building, okay. So I will come in that direction, keep walking, and I'll take a step, look left, take another step, look left, take a step, look left, and when I see a red building, I'll stop, isn't it? Now here it could be 1 mile, could be 100 miles, right? And if you gave me wrong condition, let's say color of your house is blue, but you told me red, I'll walk forever, isn't it? Because I don't know when to stop. So I'll be walking itself, right? So so in that case, okay, in that case, if you get wrong condition, your program will never stop. You get infinite loop. And in for loop case, okay, when you give wrong number of iterations. Let's say it would take um, 5 miles, but you gave me only 2 miles. I'll walk for 2 miles. I will not find and I'll come back, right? So the objective is not achieved, correct? Objective is not achieved. So for example, again, going back to the tea making example. So in tea making example, okay, and when water is boiling, right? So you'll say, boil the water till you see bubbles in water. So it is till you see bubbles in water, right? So now let's say you forgot to switch on the gas stove. What will happen? You will be standing there forever, right? Because bubbles will never come and you are standing there forever. That's a mistake in infinite loop, right? And first case for loop, if I tell you boil water for 5 minutes, right? And let's say for some reason you have too much of water and in 5 minutes the water is not boiled, you will not get a good taste of tea, right? So again, so you have to be careful about when to use what and how to use, right? Otherwise, simple. Repeat the loop 10 times. It is for loop. Okay. How are they used? Okay. So let's say I want to print 1 to 10. I want to print 1 to 10. So first we'll try to use for loop and then while loop. Now you see, logically, if you see, whatever you can achieve with for loop, you can achieve with while loop also. Okay. But it's easier to do for when you know exactly. So I'm printing here 1 to 10, right? It is easier here to use for loop than say while loop, right? But we'll see, how they implement conditions and loops. So first we'll talk about for loop. Okay. Now how for loop is used. But before we use for loop, we have to learn one more concept called as range. Okay. Now range is a function, okay, which will generate range of values. That's why the name range of values. So if I go here and I say A, comma, B, comma, C, that means it takes 3 parameters, 3 arguments basically. So when you pass these 3 arguments, you have to pass 3 values to range. So range, okay, and you have to pass 3 values where A indicates starting value, okay, B indicates ending value, and C indicates increment. Okay, ending value is always excluding. Okay, and starting value is always including. So if I say here range, say 2 comma 10 comma 3. Okay, so what does this mean? So what are the output of these values? What kind of values will it generate?
Starting is,
So we said starting is always including, right?
yeah,
So
2.
2, right? Then the increment is 3, right? So increment is 3. So 3 plus 2,
5.
5.
5 plus 3, 8.
8.
258, 258, 10.
2, 5, 8. Now 8 plus 3 is 10. Is it?
No,
No,
no, it
right?
is 3 is 11, right? So it will
Right.
print until 8.
Right. So 8 plus 3 is 11, right? And we want to print only up to 10. Okay. So it will print 258, not 11, but 258 only. So range of 2, 10, and 3 will generate 258. Okay. Now let's say I make it 11. Then also 258 only, because ending value is excluding up to. Okay. You cannot even touch it. Starting is including, but ending is up to that point. Okay. So in this case, even 11 will not be printed. Okay. But yeah, if I make it 12, then 11 will get printed. Okay. 8 plus 3, 11. 11 is less than your ending value. So ending value will not get printed. It is up to the ending value. Okay. It is up to the ending value. So if I say 11, you will get only 258. Okay. Then you have range. Okay. You can have A comma B. Okay. So you can have range that takes only 2 values. Okay. You can have range that takes only 2 values. Okay. When you pass 2 values, it means you're saying C is default, okay, equal to 1. Increment is default 1. Okay. So if I say range, sorry, 3 comma 8, then what are the values that will be printed? So when you see range with 3 values, it is all the 3 values A, B, C, starting, ending, and increment. When you see range with just 2 values, the C is not there here. It's only A, B. Okay. So when you say A, B, okay, so starting is 3, then comes 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, right? It is always should be less than 8 because 8 is a ending value. So in this case, it should go 1 less, right? So it'll print only up to 7. Okay. And you can even have third type of range, which is just one value. Okay. So if you have one value,
Then, if we have one value, how can we call it as range?
it is a range only, no? Okay. So here B is given and A and C are default. Okay. A equal to default, which is 0. Okay. And C is default equal to 1. Okay. So when I say range 4, that means I'm saying start from 0, go up to 4, okay, and increment by 1. Okay, so let me put as C here. Sorry, B here. So when you see only one value, okay, it is B value, where A is 0 and C is default 1. So if I say range of 4, okay, it
But
is
0.
0, 1, comma, right? 1, 2, 3, that's it, right? No 4, it is up to 4. So when you say range with one value, it is from 0 up to that value, right? So now let's see how to execute this and see. So coming back to for example, we're talking about for loop. So for loop starts from keyword for. So when you write keyword for, that means Python will know, okay, you're trying to, okay, you're trying to
Build a for loop.
build a for loop. So always your for loop is the key word which indicates you are creating a for loop. Okay. Now for will be followed by a counter. Okay, you can use A, B, C, counter, I, whatever, right? So I say Y. So I is a variable. Each component, so for loop we are trying to put different components together. Okay, it's not one single exam. And if you have done C, C++, Java, it is one single syntax. But in Python, it's not one single syntax. We are taking multiple concepts together here. So for I is a variable, and I'm going to use a keyword called in. So in is an operator, just like plus minus that we did. In is an operator, okay, which we didn't do when we talked about operator. We'll do it today. Now, so in is going to take value. Okay, so there are multiple ways of looking at in. When you use in, it is like to check is if you are using with if, let's say, okay. So in if, okay, so let's do that first, then we'll come back to if. Now, let's say you have a string here, hello, okay, and if I say if h in hello, okay, now of course h is a string, so it has to be in quotation. Okay, if h in hello, then you say there, right? So now when you run this, okay, I need to change that to p1. So it is there because h is in hello, right? Now if I say capital H, okay, then we don't have else, otherwise else would have been printed. It will not print there because capital H is not in hello. So in is going to, okay, depending upon what operation you are planning to do, in will just take in this case, in if case, it will take h value from left side. Okay, since h is also a value, and check if it is there in the right side or not. So right side will always be the bigger variable, bigger value, which will have, of course, more values. Left side will be the smaller one. Now, when you check a value in value, small value in big value, it is going to check if left side is present in right side or not. So here in is checking if right side is present in left side or not. Okay. Now, in this case, okay, in for I is a variable. So in is assigning value from right side to left side. I is a variable, so I will get value from right side to left side. So I'm going to say range here. Okay, now let's look at range 4 first. We'll go upward. So when I say range 4, okay, that means range is going to generate value 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I will take 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. What for is doing is for is making I take value, one value at a time, one value per iteration. So first it says, okay, I, you take 0, and then you perform whatever you want to perform here. Print hello. Okay. Then let's say you have only one print. Then it goes up. Then I takes now 1. Prints hello goes up. I takes 2. Prints hello goes up, takes 3. Okay. Prints and goes up. When it goes up, there's no more values to take because range 4 will generate 0, 1, 2, 3, right? So once you reach 3, there are no more values and your loop ends. So I is like a variable which is counting the iteration. It is counting, okay, 1, 2, 3, or 0, 1, 2, 3, and stop there. So if I run this one, I'm going to get 4 times hello, right? Right? And I can
The other
delete.
one is.
This is
Yeah.
coming from here, line number here.
Mm.
So you will get 4 times hello, right? Now, if you want to print the value of I, you can print the value of I also. Hello, value of I equal to I. So you can see here, I is first 0, then 1, then 2, and then 3, right? And I can use the second one, which is 3, 8, right? So if you say 3, 8, and here I'll say hi, value of I equal to I, and you run it, you get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and stop, right? Why I'm getting 8 here? Because I give 9, right? Sorry, 8, right? If you give 8, you will get only up to 7, right? Now, the first case, that is 2, 11, 3, right? Let's try 2, 11, 3. So range 2, 11, and 3. Okay, so 2, 11, and 3. So you get 2, 5, 8. That's it. Okay, so
Three possibilities only it is possible. ABC.
sorry.
Starting. Only 3 values is possible, right?
Yes.
Starting and increment.
Yes, because maximum can take 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So 3 values only you can give, right? Now, because if you don't give any value, it will not know when to end. And if you give more than 3 values, it doesn't know what to do with the 4th one, right? So it'll give you error. In both the cases, you'll get error. Okay. So 2, 11, and 3 will give you 2, 5, 8. Okay. So this is how for loop works. Okay. Now coming to our example, what we wanted to do, we wanted to print 1 to 10. So simple, isn't it? So you say for I in range 1, 11, right? You have to print up to 10. So you'll say 1, 11, print, and I'll say print I. Now I want to print I in same line. So I'll say I, and equal to comma I'll give. So when you print it, okay, it's going to print from 1 to 10 like this. Make sense? And after printing is done, I will just bring the cursor to next line. So it comes down here. So you're able to print 1 to 10 for loop. isn't it? Now let's add one more thing to it. I want to find the sum of the values from 1 to 10. Okay, so how do I find sum? So this I is there. When you run the loop, what happens? I is now replaced with second value. First I is printed first value, which is your 1. Then it prints 2, 3, so on. So I is getting replaced every time, isn't it? I is getting replaced. So when I is getting replaced, okay, how do you catch I before it changes its value? How do you catch I before it changes its value? So probably it's difficult to catch I, right? So what we need to do is, okay, I'm going to define something called as sum equal to 0 here, okay? And before I change its value, I'll capture it. How do I capture it? I'm going to say sum equal to sum plus I. So in first iteration, sum is 0 and I is 1. So sum becomes 0 plus 1, 1. Right? So sum is now 1. So second iteration, I becomes 2. So 1 plus 2, which is 3. Right? Then 3 plus next value. Then plus next value. So what happens is you're able to handle the values now with sum. Right? So now if you print outside, okay, sum of the values, okay, you say sum, right? So you got sum as 55. So here I have to print in next line. So I'm going to say /n. Okay, so some of the values is 55. Is it correct?
Yes.
Okay. So this is how you can find some of the values using for loop. Okay. Now let's implement same thing using while. How does while work? Okay. So while, okay, they said we'll have condition, isn't it? So we have condition here. So how to define condition? So for loop starts with for, while loop starts with while, and while is followed by condition. Okay, just like if has a condition, and if condition is true, it will go inside if. Same thing, while will have a condition, and if condition is true only, it will go inside while. Okay, and so loop every time it's like it's like checking, it's like your gatekeeper, right? It's like when you go for a concert or movie or a thing, you have somebody to check your ticket, right? So that is a while, and if your ticket is valid, you go inside while. Again, it will check your ticket. Okay, so as long as there's a valid condition here, the loop will repeat. So I need to find values sum of 1 to 10, or I want to print the first. Let's print the value first, and then we'll talk about sum. So I need to check a condition here, right? How to check a condition? So I need some variable to check. So what I'll say start or something like this, okay, or val equal to 1, and I'm saying, okay, while val is less than equal to 10, right? I can say val is less than equal to 10, or I can say val is less than 11. That means val is one which will count the value 1 to 10, and then we will sprint it, right? So I'm saying val equal to less than 10, and now I'm printing val, okay, print val, right? So I'm going to print val, and then what happens? Okay, let's print val like this, and then we'll see. Okay, so I'm printing val. Now what happens? Val is 1, val is less than 11, less than 10. Yes, it is less than 10. I'm printing val. Now when you run it, see, it went to infinite loop. So this is what I said. If you do not give the condition properly, okay, it becomes infinite, it goes on forever. Okay, see, it's going on forever. So you need to stop it, okay, and you have to increase the val, right? Val equal to val plus 1. Now val equal to val plus 1 can be written as we know, right? Val plus equal to 1. plus equal to, okay, not minus. So again, what we did, we removed the second val and interchanged the sign to indicate that it is val equal to val plus 1, right? So val less than equal to 10, print val, and val plus equal to 1. Now when you run it, you're getting 1 to 10, isn't it? You see? So what happens? Value is 1, it goes in, 1 is less than 10, so it will allow you to go in, then print val. So
Infinite
you're
times.
printing 1, not infinite times. So it prints
Can't
val.
make it if you're not giving val equal to val plus 1, it
Yes. So it prints val 1 and then it goes to val equal to 1 plus 1, right? 2. So val becomes 2. It goes up to the while. Is 2
Okay.
less than 10? Yes, 2 is less than 10, right? So it goes in and prints 2. Comes here, val becomes 3. Goes up, checks. Is val 3, which is 3 less than 10? Yes. Goes in, prints 3. Goes up 4, prints. Okay. So it keeps on going and checking. And when it begins 10, 10 is less than equal to 10? Yes, right? So it goes, prints 10, and then it comes and makes this value 11. It goes up. 11 is not less than or equal to 10, isn't it? So it stopped here. Okay. So this is how you can generate 1 to 10. So here you need something for the condition, right? So you have to introduce val. Now in I, for I is doing that job. I is doing the job of initialization, right? Okay, I is doing the job of initialization, incrementing, and the last condition. All three are managed by range here, and I is doing it, right? Here we have to implement it manually, right? Now I need to print the sum, right? So I'll say here, just like we did before loop, we say sum equal to 0, and inside I'm going to say sum equal
sum
to
equal to sum plus
sum
val.
plus val, right? Is it correct?
We can write yeah, it's correct.
Okay, so let's run it and see if it is correct or not. Print sum equal to sum. Okay, the answer is 65 here. There was 55, here it's 65. So see, the mistake that we are making here is we are putting sum after val is increased by 1. So what happens? The first value that will take is 2. Val is 1 here, right? It prints and now val becomes 2. So you're adding 2 to this. Correct? So we are saying val 0 plus 2. 1 is gone. We lost 1. Okay, so 2 plus. And then when val is 11, 10, it comes here, makes it 11. So now you are saying plus 11 at the last. Right? So after 10, also you are adding 11. So first you are, so 55, we are not adding 1, so 54, and you are adding 11. So 54 plus 11, 65. So this should not be here. Okay? Because val you are incrementing, right? So before you increment val, you need to check it. So you can do it after print or before print. It can be
Yes.
after print or before print, not after val is incremented. Okay? Otherwise, you are losing the actual correct value and you are gaining one wrong value at the end. Okay, and as I said, if you have sum equal to sum plus val, you delete second sum and then you change the sign. So plus becomes plus equal to. Okay, and now you see when you run it, you get 55, right? So this is how you can implement same logic, right? Printing values 1 to 10 and adding those values using for and while. And this is how for works and this is how while works. Okay, so I'll pause for 20 seconds and see this, and then we'll continue.
In for loop also it will add and after then it will increment, right?
Right.
Okay.
At the Beginning of the
In
loop,
range,
you're doing it.
in range itself only it is incrementing. Here it's not range, so we need to mention val equal to val plus 1.
Right. Okay. So I hope everything is clear so far. Awesome.
Yes,
So
Swapnil.
perfect.
Swapnil, can you explain what is this sum plus equal to val?
Sum plus equal to val, right? So this is same as value equal to val plus 1.
Sum
Right?
equal to sum plus val.
So same as sum equal so what did I do?
So we can write sum equals to sum plus val as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is a little confusing.
No, this is what you need to learn. This shows that you're experienced, right? So
Yes.
less number of character, less number of lines is shows, so that's it.
Coverage.
Yes. So you should try to write. So because less number of lines, less number of code means faster one, you can program faster, but more importantly, you are doing it like the when you are debugging it, right? So that is also faster, right?
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So now let's for today, for rest of the time that we have, let's focus on working with for. Let's develop more apps. Okay, using for loop. Okay. So how do we print star? Single star, single print, right? Now I need to print 5 times, 5 stars. How will I do? Obviously, I'll put, since I know 5, yes, since I know 5, I'll use for loop, correct? So I'll define n equal to 5 and I'll say for I in range n, okay? And I'll put this in a loop. So you get 5 stars, correct?
Yes.
Now I want to print, okay, stars in same single line, right? So if you print in same single line, you say comma and equal to,
comma. Separate by
right?
comma.
Yeah. So no, we don't want to print comma. We just want to print star. So I gave blank here. So
Okay.
when you run it, so you get star, 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 star.
Yes.
Now I want to print, okay, entire thing. Okay, I want to print entire thing, okay, 5 times. So that means five stars, 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. I want to print 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars like this 5 times. Like this. So how do I do that? So see, this is the logic to print 5 stars, right? Now this is the logic to print this row. So now what I want a loop which will print this thing 5 times. So treat this as one block of code that I print hello. This treat as just one block of code like print hello, and I need to repeat it 5 times. So what will I do? I'll say for j, because I is already used here, so we'll take some other variable and we'll say j in range 5 or n, right? And I'll put this inside this. So what it meant was, this is the logic to print, the stars in one line. And I'll say, okay, same logic, I will repeat it 5 times. So I'll get 5 stars or 5 rows of 5 stars. So I did not get 5 rows. All these are printed in same line because we used end and we are not breaking the line, right? So we need to
So,
break the line,
slash and
right? So we'll say print blank,
slash and new line.
right? No, print itself will break the line. If you give slash n, it will give 2 lines. Print has inbuilt new line, right? So print itself will break the line. So now you see, you're getting this. Now, what happened is this previous, okay, here also we need to give break. Otherwise, what happened is this starting first row and the previous first row are combined. So now when you run it, so you get 5 stars here like this. Okay, so this is how you can run it. Now, few things to understand here is you can have just like if else, right? We call it nested if else, right? If inside if. Here also you can say nested loop, loop inside loop. I'm using for loop, but same thing can happen with while loop also, right? So concept wise, both are same. So I put for loop inside another for loop. So first, obviously, which loop will run? First loop to run will be J, right? Because J is outside. Okay. But when you run J once, okay, running one J, okay, or when you say in this case J equal to 0, I loop will start. And I will complete its work and then it goes back to J equal to 1. So one iteration of J will make I run 5 times.
Yes. For
Okay.
J0, I0 combination, for J0, I1.
Yes, it is inside. So you're saying, okay, one iteration, complete one iteration. Complete one iteration means you have to run I 5 times because I has to run 5 times. Then again, when J becomes 1, I will run 5 times. I loop will run 5 times completion. So it goes on like that. Okay. So that's how you're able to generate 25 stars, right? Now,
Yes.
printing of the star is done by the inner loop only. Outer loop is just to make sure that you are getting into different row at the right time. Correct? You are getting into different row at the right time. But printing
Yes,
is done by the inner I itself. So I is going to print your 5 stars and you are repeating that for 5 times. Is
Okay.
it clear?
Yeah, after printing the I 5 times, it will go for print. It will
Correct.
break into the line. And then J
Correct.
becomes 1.
Correct. Correct. So before J becomes 1, you're right. So print will break the line. Then it goes up. Prints this, breaks the line,
Since
goes up.
I
Prints this,
become,
breaks the line, go up. Right?
once it I condition is false, like it will come out and it will print new line. It will go
Yes.
for-
Okay. Now let's say we'll make some modification to this. Okay. Okay. I want a pattern, but this time a different pattern. Okay. I want to print only 1 star first. Then I need to print 2 stars. Okay. Then 3 stars. Then 4 stars. And then 5 stars. So first row 1 star, second row 2 star, third row 3 star, fourth row 4 stars. This is the pattern I want. How do I do that? Okay, so I'll copy and paste it here. Obviously, this is 4, 5 stars, right? Now you tell me which loop I need to edit. See, we have only 4 lines of code. We need print to go to next line. Okay, so print will take us to next line. So we don't do that. Print star. So we are printing stars only. So this will not change. What will change is either J loop or I loop. Which loop you think will change, J or I?
I loop will change.
Why I loop will change?
I in range 5 times, right? Like, so that's why it's printing 5 times like.
Yes. So printing work is done by I loop. J is only keeping track of the rows.
Yes.
So are we changing the number of rows? No. The number of rows remains 5, right? Number of row remains 5. So we are not changing the number of rows. When you're not changing the number of rows, the outer loop J will not have changed. So J will be exactly same. We have to somehow, okay, change the inner loop, the I loop, to print only 1 in first. So when you say N,
Instead of n, we can write j, I think, for I in range j.
Okay. So somehow we have to make this, okay.
Swapnil, your voice is breaking. We are not able to hear.
Yes. Hold on for a second. Is it better now? No, still not.
Yeah, it's
Just give me a few seconds.
yeah, okay.
Is it better?
Now it's okay.
Okay. Okay. So I was saying, okay, let me know if still it breaks. Okay. So I was saying
Okay.
for I in range n, right? So n is fixed as 5. So it is printing 555. So definitely this is
We
what
can
we need to change.
we can
Okay.
say j for I in range j,
Okay.
so that
So I'll say j. So now in the first iteration, what's the value of j?
it's 0.
0. So when you say range 0, what will be printed? Star will not be printed, isn't it?
Yes. For
But
I
yeah,
range.
we need to print one time.
Plus 1 maybe we can do.
Plus 1.
Yeah, j plus 1. So
Okay.
0 plus
J,
1, 1 time plus 1 will be printed. If it becomes
okay.
1, 1 plus 1, 2. I'm
Right.
thinking.
Yeah. So your thinking is correct. Okay. So you got it right. Okay. So this is how your star will get printed. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Makes sense?
Yes. With the values 0 to be printed, that's why we are incrementing. Okay.
Okay. Awesome. And now what I'll do is I will take same thing. Okay. But this time I want a different pattern. So I want 5 stars, then 4, then 3, then 2, and then 1. This way. How do I do it?
It's reverse order, right? That means we can do minus, like decrementing.
Right?
For J in range.
So
it
first
will be
row,
like-
it should be n only.
yeah, it's
Right?
n only.
Second row, it
Maybe
should be n minus
like
1.
I equal to j minus 1 or something after print.
J is from 0 to n, right? So j you cannot use it, right? You have to say n minus, right? Because we are starting with 5. So we need 5 in the beginning, not 1. So
Yeah.
n
minus
minus
j.
j. N minus j, because in first case j is 0, n minus 0 is 5. So we get 5. In second round, j is 1, n minus 1, 4. Right?
Oh,
You get
yeah.
4, right? So we have achieved what we wanted to achieve. So you get this pattern, right? Now let's say I want to create, okay, maybe I'll use this pattern only. Okay, so this pattern, I'm going to copy this. Okay, and what I want to do is, in this case, I want to give spaces here. So you have 5, right? I'll give 1 space here. I'll give 2 space here. 1, 2. I'll give 3 spaces here. And I'll give 4 spaces here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I want this kind of pattern. Earlier we wanted right angle, right? Now equilateral. Equilateral pattern. So how? See, all these pattern that we have done so far, the 2, 3 patterns, we never bothered about spaces because spaces would be printed on the right hand side. So if you don't print, anyway, it will be blank on right hand side, isn't it? So we were not bothered about, oh, how to get 1 space here, how to get 2 spaces, how to get 3 spaces, how to get 4 spaces. We never bothered because when you don't print, it will be blank only. Okay? But now in this case, we have to bother about spaces, isn't it? And
we can do
yeah, and if you see, this is like combination of last two. Okay, spaces is increasing from 4 to 1. So so this is how spaces is happening, right? So instead of 5, it is 4. Okay, so 4, 3, 2, 1. So you have this, and then here next to this you are printing stars. So this one you can think of like combination. So spaces should be from 5 to 1, okay, or 4 to 0. Spaces should be from 4 to 0, and stars should be from 1 to 5. So here we have to take care of spaces, right? So number of range that is there in the first, j will not change. J will remain as it is. 5 rows, so 5. But before you print star, we need to print spaces, isn't it?
Mm.
Before you print star, you need to print spaces. Okay. So, and spaces and star at same level. So it's not inner loop of I, or I should not be inner loop of something else. Now let's say I use K here. Okay. So I use K. So K, okay, is going to print star space. So I'm going to give space. Okay. So first K will print spaces, then I will print star. Again, change the line. K spaces, I star, change the line. K spaces, I star, change the line. So here I, when you say star, star is 1 to 5. So J plus 1 to 5 is fine. Now spaces is 5 to 1. So how do we do 5 to 1? N minus J, right? So we'll say N minus J. Now if you see, N minus J will give us 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But we don't want 5, we want only 4 here, right? That's what we saw. So we'll say minus 1, one more minus 1. That means 5 minus 1, 4. Then 4 minus 1, 3, so on. Right?
Mm,
Now
okay.
let's run this and see what happens. Okay, so we got an inverted, triangle here. So spaces are printing fine, but what is happening is J or star should be getting extra spaces. Why extra spaces? From this end. So if you
Mm,
delete this, okay, now you get what you want. So what we have done is, it's like this is like how we printed star 5 to 1, right? N minus J we did, but we did one less, so we say N minus J minus 1. You print the spaces, okay, then you start printing the star. You print the spaces, then you start printing the star.
5 minus 0 minus 1, 4.
Yeah.
4 spaces.
Yes. And we don't want extra space at the end. Now again, if you wanted, in different format, okay, you can give a space here. Which format? Right angle triangle, but you're giving this extra space here. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? But we'll remove, so in a way, if you see, okay, if you give space here, no, so reverse, right? Sorry, we are giving only one space everywhere. Sorry, I gave more spaces, right? Okay, so what is happening is, in this case, okay, in this case, when you give one extra space, and after printing space, there is one extra space, one extra space, one extra space, one extra space, one extra space. Is it? No, because we are running the loop, right? So first case, how many spaces will come? Last case, 0 space will come, right? Last case, this is not running, so 0 space will come. So this will not go. But in second case, you're giving, first case, you're giving 4 space plus 1. This is going to run 4 times, right? So you are giving how many spaces?
First
After-
one is 4.
after
5
printing-
minus-
Yeah, so when you say 4 spaces, basically you're giving 8 spaces, isn't it? Okay, so you say 1, 2, right? Every time this is printing 1 space, 1 space, 1, 2, not here, sorry. Okay, so you are saying 1, 2, that is 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, right? So 4 times, 8 spaces. Here you are giving only 3 times. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Here you are giving 2 times, right? 1, 2, 1, 2. Here you are giving 1 time. So 1, 2, and done. So this is how you get this right angle triangle pattern. Okay, and if you do not give space, you get something like this, equilateral triangle. So point here is that you try, okay, don't attempt to get your answer right for the first time. You think, make attempt, and this is how we do any programming for that matter. Okay, you won't, if you try to solve the bigger problem, right, at one go, it will not be possible. Break it into parts. Okay. And then you see the output, and based on the output, you should be able to know, okay, this is where I'm making mistake, or this is where is going wrong. Let's go and fix it. And then you fix it, and then again you see. Again you go fix it, again you see. And then you will end up the program of your what you intend to do. Is it okay? We'll do one more program, okay, and we'll end the day. Now, see, the reason I did all this pattern is, if you look at for loop, okay, logically, if you anything that you do would be something like this one only. Okay, most examples that we will do will be like one of this pattern. So if you practice, if you understand this pattern completely, you can do any program in for loop using for loop. I mean, which requires for loop, obviously, right? So that's why it's important that you understand this, and these are simple things. Okay. If you don't have to do j plus 1, right? You do j only and see what happens. Then go back. Oh no, first row is not printing. It is only printing 4 star. It'll print only 4 stars. So go and do plus, and then it'll work. Okay. So let's say, okay, I want to read. So we have done this before, right? Reading marks of 5 students. Now that we know loop, we read marks of 5 subjects and find sum and average, right? So since now we know how to use for loop, I don't have to write input 5 times. Earlier we did input 5 times, right? I don't have to do input 5 times. What I'll do, I will say marks 1, or just say marks equal to int of input, enter the marks, right? Enter the marks, right? Now, this is to read one value. So if I have to read 5 values, I have to put this in a for loop, right? For I in range. And I say 5 because 5 subjects, right? So that's it. Now you'll get reading the marks in 5 subjects. But again, as I said, right, marks will be overwritten. So we need to put sum here itself. Very similar to how we did that sum of 1 to 10 numbers, right? So I'm going to say sum equal to, okay, or plus equal to marks, right? Now you can
What
say
is the
print.
marks equal to int of input of, like what it will do?
I'm not going to tell it. It doesn't mean when you do new topic, doesn't mean that you should forget the old topic. What is this?
Okay. It means like we need to give like
Who will help her? Please, somebody help her.
data type. Int is data type. I know that, like you haven't mentioned, I think, that topic input. Like,
Okay. We haven't mentioned it.
no, only operators and for loops and
Yeah,
like
yeah, information.
conditions. That's it. The input I think you haven't said.
How's that possible that I did not do input?
The data types you have said that, like that's like int, float, that those are class types functions like.
Wait. I have not done input. I'm checking my old notes. Okay. Oh. Okay. Yeah, I don't see in my old notes. Okay. Sorry. I was supposed to do this on the first day itself, or maybe at Second day. Okay. So we'll talk about what input is. Wait 1 second. Let me share my screen again. Okay. So here, right? So what input does, okay. Let me put this comment for now. Okay. So when you say, okay, num equal to 5. So what are you doing? We are giving direct value 5 to num, right? But that's not a good way to do it because programmers, okay, need to learn the or need to get the program or the values from the user. Okay, we need user to give the values, right? You can't do a hard coding, right, in your program. We are doing this because it's faster to run the program, but technically speaking, you want user to give you value. So input is a function that using which you can take value from the user. Okay, you can take value from the user. So if I say val equal to, or let's say num itself. Okay, num equal to input. Now input is a way to read the value from the user. So when I run this, okay, see you do not get exit code 0 because it is waiting for us to provide value to this input. Okay, and when I enter this 7, okay, program stops because this num is not 7, right? So if you want to print the value, you say print, okay, num equal to num, and let's see what data type it is. Okay, oops, not here. Yeah, so I'll say type of, and this is how you get the type of data type, right? Num type of, right? Now when you run it, okay, so it is waiting. So I entered 77, let's say. So num is 77, okay, and data type is string. Okay, so when you are reading value from the user using input, it is always string because user doesn't know what you want to enter, isn't it? User doesn't know whether you want to enter boolean or integer or float, right? So everything can be converted to string, right? But not everything can be converted into integer. So what Python has done is okay, let's use input to read the value from the user, and the default data type that it will take is string. Okay, and then it is job of you as a programmer to convert it into integer or float or boolean or complex based on your requirement. Okay, so I'm expecting a number to be entered, right? So that's why what I'll do is I will say num equal to int of num. Okay, or you can do it here itself, int of this, because we discussed that when you are doing two functions together, first innermost function will be called. So when you have int of input, input is called first. You get the value, and that value you convert to integer format, right? So you can convert into integer format. Okay, so you have this int, right? So so that's what I'm doing here. So I'm saying input. Okay, now input can take 0 argument, like we spoke about range can take 1, 2, or 3, not less than 1, not more than 1. Input can take 2 types of values. One, nothing, blank. Okay, so when you say blank, you get blank here, right? You don't get, when we were entering this 77, okay, you get no message here. Okay, so sometimes it is helpful when you don't want to show something to the user, but not always it's helpful. Now, I don't know here whether I should enter my name or my phone number or my email ID or what, right? So it is always good practice to give a message inside this. And it can accept only one message. You can't say comma, comma like print. Maximum it can take is only one message, which is enter the number. Okay, or enter length. Okay, or enter breadth, enter phone number, enter name. Then you run this, Now what happens? It says enter length here, you see? So now as a user, you know, okay, I need to enter my length of rectangle or whatever, right? So I say that is 56 meters and you get num equal to 56. Why it is num now? See, it is num because we convert it into integer, right? Now again, you have to be careful because if I enter here KL, KK, okay, he'll give you error because KK cannot be converted into integer. So we'll see later classes how to handle errors, but right now we are, assume that user is giving correct value. So you're able to convert into number. Now we'll come back to our example here. So same thing I'm doing here. I'm saying input, enter the marks and converting into integer. So you're asking the user to enter the marks and you convert into integer and save in marks. And then we are doing adding to sum. And then finally we are printing total marks is your sum and average is okay, sum divided by 5. Okay, so now when you run it, of course, this first have to enter the length. I'm going to say 4. Now enter the marks, right? 56, 78, 87, 98, okay, 77. So see, you get total marks is 394, average is 78. Now I did only 1 mark, right? It ran 5 times, okay, because of the loop. So I just said, right, your marks, you cannot add comma, right? You cannot add multiple values here, but you can concatenate. We know that we can concatenate string, right? When you add string plus string, it becomes a string. So what I can do here is I can say enter the marks, okay, in subject. Now I want 1 here. So I'll break it and I will say I, and then I will break it and do this. Now see the problem here. When I do something like this, first of all, I starts from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But it doesn't look nice to say enter marks in subject 0, right? So we'll say I plus 1 here, right? Now I plus 1 is a addition, which will work because I is integer and 1 is also integer. But this plus concatenation will not work because one is string, other is number. So I will have to convert this into a string. So it is string plus string plus string. So you get total 1 single string. So when you run it, okay, enter length. Okay, now marks in subject 1. Now see that? You're able to form the statement, enter the marks in subject 1. Okay, and I can say 76. Okay, enter the marks in subject 2, 78, 67, 90. Okay, 77. Okay, so average sum is 388 and average is 77.6. So this is how you can frame input. You can have you can concatenate string inside input. Okay, and then whatever you get, you convert into integer and add to sum. And obviously, after outside the loop, you can print the sum and average. Right? So we'll stop here for today.